Can you tell us a little bit about that very first song that you actually wrote and what was it about?
I can't remember that.
That's What's up, everybody? We're here with Ajani, and we're gonna have a conversation about all of the things that he's doing right now. How did he get here? We're at the studio, Piso Tres,
Yes, sir.
and we're gonna talk about the so many projects that you're gonna be working on and you're working on right now. We call you Ayani, but your name is actually Akiel. Talk to us about that a little bit.
They're both my names.
They are
Yes.
first name
Akil.
and then the second Ayani.
Yes.
Commercially known as Ayani.
Ajani.
The artist known as Ayani.
Ajani.
That's a cool name, bro.
Of course.
Yeah. So, what do you do, man? You do songwriting, you do marketing, you do publishing. You seem to have a big passion for entertainment as a whole.
Yeah,
Talk to
entertainment.
us about that.
Entertainment is my thing, man. That's what I've made it. It's my soul. So music is my thing. Songwriting is my main thing, of course. And I've been working a little bit in publishing for the last couple of years, but we're making a little bit of a shift. And publishing's still going to be there. We have some deals going on. I'm waiting on that. But
Cool.
on the short term, marketing seems to be more in demand. So that's where we are focusing on right now. And, everything's in line with songwriting, producing music,
Right.
and marketing and the publishing. And start the publishing to hold some catalog right there. So, everything's in sync, So, my main goal with the marketing company is to help artists build brands. So, I would like to work with up and coming artists, like mid-level artists, that have
Okay.
a little bit of backing or
With potential.
yeah,
Probably.
but they have something behind them because it takes a lot to
lot of
brand an artist. But those are the artists I want to work with, and also want to work with entertainment brands, and do some cool stuff, creative stuff, whatever comes to mind, whatever proposals we can come up with, whatever partnerships.
When was that time when you heard this wake up call and you said, "This is what I want to do"?
I guess back in 8th grade or 9th grade when I was hanging around D, my friend. He's still my friend, but he lives in Australia right now. But he wanted to be a rapper, and I had an interest in songwriting, so we were like, hey, we're gonna make some company. We talked about this a lot, and obviously that didn't happen because D found some other passion, I guess.
Oh, okay. That happens too.
Well, if you're most people, when they're a child and they're adult, they have different ideas of where they want to go.
Right.
So
Life.
that kind of was, I guess, a calling. I like entertainment and media. So
Can you tell us a little bit about that very first song that you actually wrote and what was it about?
I can't remember that.
That's a tough one.
I could tell you about songs I've written, but the very first song I could tell you about the first song I wrote and I put out commercially.
Okay.
Andy Sikorsky, in Miami, Florida. We
Cool.
met at a Gravity event, and that was like when I was first trying to look for my that opportunity. And he was like, "Hey, sometimes I need a lyricist," and I was like, "Okay." So I wrote the song. They marketed it, put it out. Got syndicated to 50 countries on syndicate radio,
That's amazing, man.
and yeah, that was my first release. So, but that was a cool experience.
Commercially wise, definitely must have opened so many doors, right?
No, syndicate radio it's here and there, you know.
Right.
You have to have a long-term push, I think, in order to get those doors open easier. Not saying that, you know, short-term success on the promotional end can't get you that exposure, but you know how most of the industry works is basically you're hot or not, which is a shame because, you know,
There's so much talent out
there's
there.
just so much talent. But the thing about it is, if you're working at a big record label and you have the resources to get a song, an album out into the environment, into the world, and you have all the resources to do that, why can't you take maybe one or two up and coming artists and develop them? It wouldn't matter. The quality is still there. But, you know, the rest is the business and you have the resources. I mean, it's a no
It's like a
brainer.
mission.
It's no brainer. It's a no brainer. But you know I mean, there's very few people that I see who I come across the industry who actually focus on artists on that or in that sense. But you know, it is what it is. So I mean, we just gotta knock it and grind, man.
Right. Not too many people is actually willing to take the lead and do that, and that's a shame.
Well, the thing about it is, it's all about money.
Of course.
Like a lot of publishing companies won't pick an artist up unless they have a hit.
One or two.
Right. I mean, it's like, okay, I understand that from a business standpoint, that makes sense. But again, if you can get a good writer into a room with a great artist and, you know,
Come up with a bunch of hits.
and put it out to the market and you have the money and the resources to do it,
Right.
why it doesn't matter to me from my perspective. That's my perspective. I don't know if I'm missing something or I don't know something behind the scenes, but I mean, it's just like, come on, man.
What would be your style that you will consider, okay, this is where I want to be as a songwriter, producer? What genre gets you more hyped?
Pop, top 40. That's something that I'm working towards and pursuing. I also like advertising.
You do. You actually have a YouTube channel.
Right, of course.
What can we find over there? Like,
Just the vlogs and a couple videos on my experiences. So what I do is I talk about my own experiences and I give tips.
okay. Can
Or-
you name each one of them?
Each one of them.
Or what can we find over there in YouTube?
I can't. I can't.
I think I've seen a day with Ajani. I've seen the tips. I think I'm missing a couple there. But you have several.
Well, I have lots of playlists. I mean, the main one is A Day with Ajani, and the other ones I don't really remember.
Okay.
I mean, I have this thing called the mini series where it's like a mini documentary thing, probably like 2 or 3 minutes, and that's something I really like. But there's lots of playlists on there, and
There's a lot going through your head, man.
right, of course,
Ideas
ideas,
flying around.
of course,
You catch them, you share them with the world,
right.
which is the social media reality nowadays. Like that's the resource, that's the platform that you can take advantage of somehow.
Well, everybody should that has the audacity to put themselves out there or want to become an influencer in something, in a particular topic. But 99% of people who want to do that aren't doing that. So we're sitting here. I'm in a studio. We're recording video. We're recording audio for a podcast, and I'm going to put it out. And then there's going to be people sitting at their computers playing this audio in their car, and they're gonna be like, I really want to do something like that. These are some great ideas. Or however they get inspired. Probably 1 or 2% of them are actually going to work on those ideas and do
Right.
something about them.
So at the end of the day, the purpose of everything you do is to inspire and also, of course, capitalize on the fact of building a community eventually, a big community, and also sharing with the world all the experiences that you already
Right, of course. And
have
I also
acquired.
want attention. I want the attention. But yeah, I mean,
We say every artist wants attention.
well, I mean, if you want to be,
For different purposes.
yeah,
Yes.
definitely. If you, or at least if you want to be at a certain
Or you
level.
gotta like attention to have the attention.
Right. Definitely. I mean, some people just want to be quiet and, be in their houses, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Of course.
And it's-
Probably they will be working at a very technical company, not really doing music or anything, or maybe songwriting.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is anybody could do it. It doesn't have to be necessarily music, but it's you either want to do it or you don't want to do it. For the people who don't want to do it, the people who want to stay behind the closed doors and nobody wants to bother them, or they don't want anybody to bother them, and they have 5 friends and they're happy with life.
That sounds so cool, man.
That's cool. But for the people who want to do things and be a star or be an influencer,
You gotta be out there.
and you got to be out there. And if you're not doing that, then I mean, don't complain. I can't
think
say
that
much.
people usually put the blame on somebody else, not realizing that you might have some of the control of things with all the resources that we have nowadays.
Well, I mean,
with the internet and whatnot.
We have the internet. We have a camera. Look at the Backpack Kid. 2 years ago, he came up with a silly dance, not even trying to become famous or anything. He just posted something on Instagram. The video went viral, and now he's getting booked at the Zumba convention. And he's appearing Katy Perry's music video. He's appearing.
Swish.
Yeah.
thing?
I
The
forgot
newest
what-
one.
Yeah.
She's playing basketball.
Yeah, and
think I saw
appearing on SNL with her. I mean, and he's talking about business deals. This is ridiculous. This kid is only 15 years old.
So he did capitalize on that video then. And it's also possible for whoever takes the chance and come up with some cool idea, something that can become viral.
Well, he capitalized it after the fact, and I think from the vibe I get, I think probably people came into the picture like, oh, this kid
Of
is
course.
like,
Maybe people involved in marketing also.
yeah, I don't know who is exactly behind him. I know I follow him a little bit, and I noticed that, because most 15-year-olds aren't thinking on that level.
Of course. She'll have a team.
Yeah, so I mean,
problem.
and he's making thousands of dollars, and he can't work legally. It's the craziest thing about it. He can't go to a job. He can't go to a company and say, "Hey, I would like a job," because he can't work legally. I don't know, unless he's 16 right now,
Right.
but he can't work legally.
Who knows, man? Must have a team. So the first step will be making that decision once you find out or you figure exactly what you want to do in life, right? And then you can't save the world alone, just like the movie that's out there nowadays.
Right.
So you need to have a team. You need to collaborate.
Of course.
Has that pretty much worked out for you quite a bit? Do you
Well,
think that
I mean,
helps you
it
grow?
hasn't been a straight and narrow path, which a lot of people think it is. A lot of my friends that I've known since high school, they're like, "Hey, man, I see you're doing big things, but you don't know the
struggle,
the bullshit that's going on behind the scenes. But all in all, it's not a straight and narrow path. You know, you have to deal with personalities. You know, do you know how many times I've gone to a business meeting and people don't show up? Gone to a session, people don't show up. You know, people tell me one thing, or they're supposed to send me something, and then they disappear for a month and a half, and nobody around him, nobody knows where he is, and then he comes back and says, "Hey, I'm here." It's like, you've been gone for 6 weeks. Like, come on, man.
I don't know, man. It's a cultural thing.
No, it's just in general. It's in general. I mean, like, people only know that sometimes I jump on planes and I'm in LA one day, or I'm in Panama, or I'm in Miami. But, you know, across the board, yes, there are general cultural differences, but you're always going to find people who are going to BS you. And there's a high concentration of that in the music industry.
Cannot waste your time with them.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's hard to gauge. It's hard to gauge that because people will tell you all these different things, and then they aren't who they said they were. And that's a problem. So, I mean, you have to kind of develop maybe a basic understanding of psychology in some ways. Or if
that's true.
Or if you think that this person is going to be a waste of your time, probably it's a good idea to step away from the situation.
You gotta have a good eye and keep the responsible, driven people around you, and not the other way around.
Right.
So, within the next 5 to 10 years, where exactly do you want to be? Like right now, you're doing podcasts, you're doing the YouTube, you're doing marketing, publishing a little bit, songwriting, which is the main and key thing for you. Where exactly do you see yourself? What's the strategy that you want to follow, and that you recommend for anybody to follow if they want to see themselves in that position where they actually succeeded at what they wanted to do in life?
Well, I mean, the main thing is to develop my personal brand. So songwriting, personal brand. Simple, you know, and develop the marketing company, do some creative stuff, you know, even like maybe work with some brand or company, get music, do something creative, and, you know, help build brands for other artists, build a team around that. Have those two things. I mean, they coincide with one another.
Yeah.
So that's definitely doable. And I have the publishing to keep the catalog there. You know? So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's not too confusing. You know, I'm not really doing one thing that is not related to the other. Everything is in sync. So with the marketing, I want to build a team so that can operate on itself, and actually a team that dedicates to building brands for artists and whatever creative partnerships that we can do, and, you know, using my personal brand to leverage that.
Of course.
Because that's where a lot of CEOs and entrepreneurs are doing today.
We can definitely picture it, man. Working with record labels, advertisement companies, and whatnot. Is there a message that you want to share with everybody out there before we close this interview?
Just take action and just do it, man. You know, forget about what your mama says. Even though sometimes the criticism...
They want the very best for you.
Well, yeah, right. But, I mean, sometimes the criticism could be a good criticism. So what I would say to people is, do you, but also leave a slight door open to criticism, because maybe, you know, you might be doing something the wrong way, and, you know, somebody say, hey, you got to
recalibrate.
That's not a good idea. But all in all, just do you, and don't take every single advice literally, because we've seen a lot of times where people have made it, and if they have taken the advice of their best friend or their family, they would have been there. So you have to be a person who understands the criticism, and you have to understand where you want to go, and take the pieces of information that works, and everything else, which is probably going to be the majority of stuff that you do, just throw it out and keep on going.
Especially with social media, which is the main resource that we have in order to, put ourselves out there and become that brand that you're talking about.
Right.
Thank you, Ajani, for talking to us. Definitely was a really fun conversation, and we get to talk about the so many things that you're going to be working on in the near future.
Well, like Jules Santana said, don't watch me watch TV. Well, in this case, watch my YouTube channel.
We'll do it for sure. That was Ajani, people. Go to his YouTube channel. Get to work.